we're here from Hollywood Smoke in the city of Santa Monica. I'm Steve Kim. Welcome to another edition of 10 Count. I'm joined by Michael Montero and Mike Baca. This past weekend from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, we have a new WBA Featherweight titleist. It is Carl Frampton who outpoints Leo Santa Cruz. And Mr. Baca, step up to the plate because there's a huge plate of crow for you. Now, for the record, we all picked Leo Santa Cruz. But, okay, we didn't go on the limb that you did, Mike. You said dominated. Just what got into you, Mike? What happened?
I didn't say dominated. I said destroyed.
Oh, yeah.
And
okay,
I couldn't
yeah,
have been more
better.
wrong.
Yeah.
And they say, you know, you got to eat crow, but the crow I have to eat should be rolled up in dirt and served with a fresh baked pie, humble pie, I mean. And, I mean, I was way off. What can I say?
You think?
The second round, I knew I was off once I saw how clean Frampton was landing those counter shots and how accurate he was. By the sixth round, when Leo started landing some of his best shots in the fight, I knew I was way off because they didn't have the snap that Frampton had in his shots. But overall, I thought it was a fantastic fight and definitely a Fight of the Year candidate. Frampton did, I mean, what can I say? He fought spectacularly. I didn't see anything wrong in his game. Yeah, he got hit with a few shots, but we're talking about Leo Santa Cruz here. This guy's a volume puncher. You can't get out of the way of every single shot, the amount he throws.
I think as it relates to the first half of the fight to the first two-thirds of it, shiftiness, footwork, the ability to be quicker off the trigger, and I thought he built a really big early lead. I give Santa Cruz credit, Mike. I thought he closed hard, but I don't think there's any doubt when that last bell rung, I said Frampton should win this fight.
Absolutely. I scored at 115, 113. I thought it was a close fight. One thing that people just aren't talking about that I think played a big factor here was the crowd. And it's something that I alluded to in our preview episode of 10 Count for this fight. I think I said something about Mexicans, there won't be a big Mexican crowd there in New York. I think, Steve, you said, it's boxing, there's Mexicans everywhere. But
not as much in New York.
There's not. You can't get good Mexican food in New York, right? So I think that the crowd, I'm not saying it intimidated Leo because he's a professional fighter, but it was in his mind because he was talking about it in the corner between rounds. He was talking about it after the fight. I think he was thinking about the crowd and how it might be influencing the judges, and he wasn't on his game. And he dug that deep hole for himself, and he just wasn't able to dig himself all the way out.
Leo, here's a geography lesson. If you fight east of the Mississippi, specifically in New York, against an Irishman, you have lost home canvas advantage, and shame on him. I just thought it was troubling that after the post-fight, interview with Jim Graves talking about the crowd. Leo, what did you think you were getting into? And if you have a problem with it, take it up with your advisor, who just happens to advise the other guy, by the way. So again, I don't know if they ran into something of a Trojan horse or anything like that, but I think the judging was fair. Do I think they may have been influenced by the crowd, the reaction? Yes, but I don't get all this talk of it was a robbery or that Santa Cruz won the fight. And everyone points to Leo Santa Cruz's activity. Right, but in professional boxing, you know what I think is a novel concept? Landed punches and their effect matters more to me than actual volume.
Absolutely. And Mike, you alluded to this, that Santa Cruz did land some shots, and he did close strong. I thought he controlled most of the action in the last third of the fight, but the punches had no effect. Mm-hmm. And I think some of that was Frampton going to the body early on and maybe taking a little steam out of Leo's shots, but also it was the footwork. And this is another thing that I think we alluded to in the preview episode. Frampton has faster feet and better footwork, and he mastered the distance, the spacing, the timing in this fight, and that was ultimately the difference. Leo was throwing a lot of punches, but even the ones he landed were glancing off the side of the head. They weren't flush on the chin.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the crowd was a bigger factor than you guys are even alluding to, because I talked to Leo before the fight. I asked him about fighting in Brooklyn. It was his first time in New York ever.
Right.
And I asked him how he felt about that. And he said, I'm just gonna build more fans going there. And I think that's kind of the pitch they gave him to sign the fight, to actually fight in Brooklyn. And I think, judging by the way he fought, he wanted to make a war. Frampton was just smart not to get in a war with him and just counter him. But yeah, I mean, Leo, he's just not as accurate as I thought he was going to be. Put it that way. Maybe I overrated his power just a little bit and underrated Frampton as well. I definitely have to eat the crow. I spent the weekend in hell. The devil sends his regards, guys.
You know, two things about this fight. I think Frampton certainly benefited from moving up 4 pounds. That matters, especially when you're talking about guys with body fat less than 10%.
And you never know when a guy's going to move up in weight. Right. You don't know until the fight. Right.
But he looked good. And also, Leo Santa Cruz, long, lanky guy, he has what I call a very loose jab. It's not a very good table setter because it's not a hard stick, and it's very easy to close distance on him and actually time it over the left hand. And I think that's going to be problematic as he faces these better, bigger athletes at 126. Now, for the record, not all of us picked Leo Santa Cruz. Doug Fisher, who's not on this segment, actually did. But we here are the three blind mice. Looking at Carl Frampton, big victory over an arch rival domestically in England against Scott Quigg, comes overseas and gives Leo Santa Cruz, a respected fighter, his first professional loss. I think it's clear in this election year, as you vote for Fighter of the Year, thus far, it has to be Carl Frampton, doesn't it?
Hands down. I mean, he unified titles at 122, took Quigg's O in that fight, moved up in weight, came over to this side of the pond, fought one of the top featherweights in his first fight at 126, wins another title. That's not only Fighter of the Year stuff, but you can make an argument pound for pound level stuff. He's on the cusp at this point.
And especially, we'll see what his next fight's going to be, the third fight of the year. I think that fight might be Lee Selby, which is another unification fight in Belfast, wherever they do it. And that is a huge event over there. And if Frampton can pull away with the win in that, I don't see anybody else coming near him.
Even the winner of Ward Kovalev, you think the body of work beats one big fight?
Absolutely, yes.
If I can play conspiracy theorist slightly here, I think if Andre Ward beats Sergey Kovalev, I think the BWAA will vote him as Fighter of the Year.
Why though?
Yeah.
American bias?
Yes.
That simple.
That's it.
I think that'd be shameful. I'll be honest with you.
How many times did Floyd Mayweather win Fighter of the Year for beating one guy, somebody like, I don't know, Marcos Maidana, Victor Ortiz. I mean, so I just, that's what I would predict. If Sergey Kovalev wins that fight, then hands down, Carl Frampton will be Fighter of the Year.
Okay, there you have it from Oliver Stone, also known as Michael Montero, Michael Baca, and Steve Kim. This has been 10 Count.